Do not adjust your set. This is not Race for Europe. This is the better fans. This is the proper fans of football. The proper fans who understand what it feels like to have heartache. The proper fans who know what it feels like to beg for a win. We are the fans. We are on 12th Man. I am your host tonight, Dan United, and I am joined by some fantastic people. We got Dave. How are you, mate?
Yeah, physically all right. Heart slightly tarnished, but other than that, we're all right, big man.
Good. Samo, good to see you, mate. Last time I saw you, you were very, very drunk. Well, I was very drunk in Nottingham. How you doing?
You were throwing me about, throwing Lawless about. Incredible scenes. That Popwell dance floor has never seen anything like it. But yes, mate, all good.
Good. And of course, we're joined by Conrad. How you doing, Conrad? You well?
Yeah, good. I'm just glad to be back at football. I mean, I know it was on last weekend as well, but just glad the international break's at least away for another 3. We're proper club football now.
I'd take it in a heartbit, mate. I'm counting down the next one.
That's probably true.
Counting down the next one. Let's get into it, guys, because look, it's been an odd season. Been an odd season for a lot of clubs. We've seen, I mean, Villa at the lower ends of the table, can't score a goal in the league. Then you've got obviously my boys who. It's the less said the better. We'll get onto my lot later, but how are we all feeling about our season so far? Dave, I know I'll start with you because obviously there was a lot of promise. We all expected after last season the good times are going to roll, and Nottingham Forest, with the players that they're signing in Europe, surely it can't get any better. But now we're looking at a situation where it's all over the place, mate.
It's almost Dan, as if certain eyes on the club looked and thought, you know what, this is all going too smoothly. This is all too stable. This is all too calm. The cards are on the table. Let's bash the table and send them all up into the air in different directions. And it is irritating, to say the least. I'm not one for ranting and raving, but I would like some stability. I go back to seeing Jonathan Wilson, who's a terrific football correspondent who I read on a regular basis. And he was on a preview show before the start of the season, and he said Nottingham Forest could finish anywhere between 6th or 20th. Such is the volatility in that club. And volatility is the word that springs to mind. And volatility is the word that I would like to banish into the shadows and replace it with another word that rhymes with it, which is stability. But it just seems at the moment, our club, and I'm looking at my club, and I feel at the moment personally out of step with my club. I'm the guy who, if anybody asks me, I just want to stay in the Premier League, right? Because that's my baseline. Always will be.
Me too.
But I, do you know what, lads? I look around and I see so many people getting so far ahead of themselves. The one guy I've got sympathy for at the moment, and because of the volume of hate, the volume of hostility, the volume of actual just general human unkindness towards him, is Ange, right? I feel for Ange. I think Ange is a decent bloke, scarred by 2 years with one of the most pathetically toddlerish, infantile fan bases ever been. So I feel for Ange. But elsewhere I look, and I think that this is like running on too far ahead of itself, out of proportion with where our status is in. I mean, last season was a pretty significant overachievement. So if that's an overachievement, the default setting is that our status isn't as high as that would suggest. And I think a lot of people, Dan, have taken that on board and made that their new default setting. I haven't, but I feel out of step. I feel like the voice that's, the bloke that's going one way and everybody else is going the other. Around the City ground for the West Ham game, I saw a lot of, this is a formality. I've played football long enough, been involved in football long enough, got brought up by my father and my granddad, who were probably good football men. Nothing is a formality in football. And I saw it all around the City ground before the West Ham game. And I walked out slightly smug, as if say, yeah, you lot brought that on yourselves. Right. Arsenal, I think Arsenal's a different matter. I think Arsenal were too good for us. Arsenal are always going to be too good for us, certainly at the Emirates. I actually came away from that thinking, well, we did well to keep it down to 3. Arsenal actually, to me, now look like a credible threat, where I'd not thought that for a while. And then Wednesday night, I mean, actually, it was a game I couldn't get to, which is not like me because I just couldn't get the time off work. And I remember ringing Dora at half time and it was 2-0. And he's going, you're banned from coming because we're doing well. But at the end of the game, it was almost like maybe I was glad I didn't go. And I watched the Swansea game and there's a nuanced, two-faceted view to me, Dan. One is that Nottingham Forest on Wednesday night committed to me the greatest crime that any team can commit in football. They had it in the palm of their hands. They were utterly dominant. For 75 minutes, they played beautiful football. They missed chance after chance after chance. They created so much. They looked easy on the eye, but they didn't. When they got Swansea by the testicles, they didn't squeeze them and pull them off.
Mm.
And that, to me, when I ran teams, me and Sam had this conversation. Sam knows, how much I was involved in football in the Bournemouth area. Any team of mine that was so in control and threw a game away, I wanted all of them basically thrown into a pit and covered over with soil. For my money on Wednesday night, I looked at Ange and I thought, well, you've made the changes. You've come up with your strategy. You've sent them out there for 70 minutes. And I thought our players became utterly complacent. The excuse in that is that they were so comfortable. You could sort of, it's really difficult for a human mind to kind of keep that out of the way.
Yeah.
The XG was 2.83, which is, Forest have not had an XG like that for years. So the nuance, the bad side of it is it gave away a winning position. The other side of it, and there is another side of it, because I don't deal in extremes, mate, is that the squad will not now be stretched over 4 competitions. It'll be stretched over 3. So maybe there's a little, that very dark cloud has a silver lining. I thought some of our players, Bakwa, Igor Jesus, Hutchinson, Zinchenko, bedded in nicely and played some lovely football. There was a goal just before half time that Forest scored, and it's one of the loveliest goals you can ever see. Pass, tapped into an empty net. Fantastic stuff. There were, for some people it was a good night, for others it wasn't. I mean, poor old Ryan Yates always tries hard, but just wasn't good enough. And it's out the way now. That's the good thing. But what I'm really worried about with us is so many people are getting so far. So many of our social media people are like so far down the road. Whoa, come back! We're not that great.
Yeah.
Our YouTubers all across the spectrum are like, confecting rivalries with clubs much bigger than us that we don't need. And our chairman, who, Lord love him, he's put his money into our club and he's taken us on. I mean, for us to even get to Europe last year is an astonishing achievement. 4 years ago, we were bottom of the Championship and we were a nothing club for 30 odd years before that. So let's get that there, and that's the context. But please don't motivate every opposition we play by saying in the end we always win. Scotty Parker will have those words on that wall tomorrow. Scotty Parker will say, there you are. Here come Nottingham Forest. Look, they lack the basic humility of Bournemouth, of Brentford, of Brighton and Hove Albion, of Burnley, of Sunderland, of Crystal Palace, of Fulham, none of whom from a 2-0 position on Wednesday night would have lost that game. We are not one of these big 6 clubs. And the sooner we realise that and cut this cretinous delusion and get back to feet on the ground, the better. Tomorrow, I'm hoping tomorrow, I'd love Hans to get his first win, so he doesn't have to carry that monkey on his back, and he'll get a lot of these people who basically didn't want him. And after two games, how can one judge a human being in any field of endeavour on such a small portfolio?
Your ex-manager, Nuno, had the same problem at Spurs. He was like
this. Robbo. Bless you, mate, for saying that.
Yeah. He went there and he was the 17th choice, wasn't he? At that time with Spurs.
Yeah.
They went for everybody. Yeah. And when he got there, it was kind of the Spurs fans. He won manager of the month in his first month, and then it was kind of went bad. The fans went, "This guy ain't good enough. This guy ain't good enough." And I think there is a couple of questions I got for you, mate, from the chat, and I want to get it to the other lads as well. So Yusuf, big up Yusuf. He says Marinakis is holding your club back with cutthroat decisions. Do you agree with that, or do you think it's a case of the decisions are being needed to make to try and bring the club forward?
It's a cracking good question, that. And Yusuf, bless you for Yusuf, because I think it's a perceptive view. I think, again, it's nuanced. It's a grey area. It's not either black or white. I think you can't really say he's held us back. We've gone from the bottom of the Championship to 7th in the league and to a European game on Wednesday night, which is, to me, the stuff of dreams. I never, ever thought I'd see that. 4 years ago, we were losing to Burnley. Houghton was to Middlesbrough, at home. Burnley's tomorrow. We'll probably lose them tomorrow. But Middlesbrough at home.
I don't know when I'll see Europe again either, mate. I mean, the closest I've got, I'm off to Gran Canaria in a couple of weeks.
But the thing is, lads, I don't think it's the whole tale to say he's held us back because of where we've gone over this. I don't think any team has travelled as far as we have, in terms of a progression. But at the same time, I think it's an unbelievably pressurized, fairly intimidating place to work in. And I don't think everybody in the Nottingham Forest family, because that's what it should be, I don't think everybody is entirely relaxed. I think there's a lot of looking over shoulders. I think what worries me, lads, is that eventually Nuno might be proved to have been onto something, and as a man of principle said, I cannot abide this.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, it's really all started from when the conceit of we need a global director of football was put into our club. Now, again, Bournemouth don't have one, Brentford don't have one, Brighton don't have one, Burnley don't have one, Sunderland don't have one, Palace don't have one, Fulham don't have one. They're not that conceited to kind of shove it out there. And I cringe a little bit when I look at, I look at the way Bournemouth are playing. I look at how Brighton are set up. Brentford are going through a transition, but keep their feet on the ground and seem to work their way through it. The only club I think at the moment who suffers from a surfeit of conceit, Robbo, like ours, is yours. It's me and you, Dan. Really,
we're not here to talk about my club at the moment. Let's forget about my club. We don't need to talk about my club at the moment. I've cried my tears on that. I've cried my tears. Conrad, what are your thoughts on Nottingham Forest at the moment? And is it a ticking time bomb with Ange and with Marinakis, or could this be something that short-term pain and then they get it right?
It's hard to say at the moment because, I mean, from what I saw on the Arsenal game, you actually looked like a sort of two different types of Forest, if that makes sense. You were sort of like stuck between like the sort of counter-attacking press from Nuno, and then you were sort of trying to do this all-out football that Ange sticks to so rigidly. The only manager I know who sticks to things more rigidly is Amorim, and that's not serving him that well. Sorry, Dan. Just
not having that. Not having that.
Had to bring out Conrad back. We want our Conrad back.
Yeah. But I think then when I watched a bit of the Swansea game, I was like, your second goal was phenomenal without them sort of touching the ball. And I was like, look at that. He's clearly got more kinds of the players that would suit him at this point, and you might get something better out of it. And like you say, your XG was, through the roof from it there. But then how is that going to fare up on the other side of it, which is what we saw in the last few minutes? I can't take anything away from the winner, especially the strike that led to the winner as well, like that rattled off the post for it as well. It was fantastic.
Yeah. Galbraith and Burgess, brilliant. Yeah, great.
In terms of how they're going to get on, I mean, I don't fully know, but I'm sure at points they tried to, maybe media and bits like that tried to sort of poke holes in the fact that Levy and Ange were sort of not quite on the same wavelength when he didn't quite get a player he wanted, or if Levy wasn't happy with the way results were going, which is how it exactly turned out. The word I use for probably Marinakis is there's two. There's hostile and there's unconventional in the way he goes about it, and he goes about trying to drag you forward and drive you forward in a really sort of like cutthroat way of like, well, I'm not willing to do this. Mercurial, Conrad, I think. Yeah, exactly, and just sort of like, this is how it's going to happen, and this is what we're going to do. And if you're in my way, even in the club, then see you later. And it's my decision. I will get us forward this way because I've served us well enough so far, which is great when it's going well. And like you say, you're in Europe and you can't argue with the result of it. But it's just, like you say, are people along the way, there's no smoke without fire, that enough people are going, hang on, like this doesn't seem right. And as far as Nuno goes, I think the writing was on the wall. I don't know what game it was, but when he stormed the pitch last season, and sort of Leicester on the pitch had a go at him, and because he wasn't getting Champions League, which I understood because you were quite a way ahead, but at the same time, you shouldn't remember where you've come from, and that this is still a fantastic sort of position that you were in, and that just seemed to sort of all throw it wrong at that point.
Conrad, I mean, obviously, you know, your boys have had a good start to the Premier League, and we'll come on to them, you know, in more detail later on. But what a season to be coming into the Prem, and I think looking at teams around you struggling. How are you feeling watching teams like mine and Dave, you know, struggling like they are? Does it give you hope?
Yeah, I mean, the previous years when we've had a look back at other teams going in, you sort of go, well, who are you going to destabilize? Who's going to, you know, be the ones that drops out? And then there isn't any. And so far, there's been sort of Wolves and West Ham that are absolutely, you know, just not with it at the moment. And yet I say we as in the three teams that have come up, have all managed to actually get points on the board early, unlike any of the teams that came up in the previous 2 seasons as well. I can't remember what Forest were like 3 seasons ago, if they got points on the board early, but you stayed up
I think, Conrad, it was more towards the end of the season when
you had a really good run. Yeah, you did, didn't you?
Awoniyi sort of hit his straps towards the end of the season, and we had a good sort of last 3 or 4 weeks of the season. A draw at Chelsea, beat Arsenal, a draw at Palace, and then we were safe.
Yeah, really. That was the one. And then, but I think wasn't it last year? It was like it took them till October for one of them to get a win, and then November for the rest. Yeah. And you know, we're looking at our game on Sunday, thinking, God, if we manage to get 3 points on that one, we're 2 points behind Southampton's entire total of last season, and you know, we've played 5 games. Like it's crazy considering it, but it's not nice to watch any team.
Credit Labrie.
Yeah, and Christian Speakman as well on the recruitment from some of these players.
I'll say this, Conrad, how dare you, LY30? You've got a Champions League place club in Bournemouth, and you've got Sunderland who are in Europe. I mean, how can you say mid?
I thought this was the Road to Europe. Yeah, I thought this was the Road to Europe podcast.
I won a race for Europe, admittedly a repechage, but we got there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Ben. Sam, what about you, mate? I mean, you're sitting pretty at the moment, and looking down the table at the likes of us and Forest at the moment. Are you surprised with Forest? Are you surprised with United? Is it a lull of a false sense of security?
I'm probably more surprised at Forest than United, really, in a way. I mean, I think with Nuno, Forest had an identity. I think the public perception of Forest was pretty strong in many ways. It looked like everyone was together. Fans were, deeply loyal, and they seemed together as one somewhat. And I don't know, like it seemed like, you know, knowing now what I know, like I do wonder whether Nuno did well in spite of Marinakis rather than because of him. And all of the stuff that I saw like on the pitch with him, you know, coming on, and all of the undermining that seemed to go on, and these, you know, press releases after the coming together that seemed to say, oh no, it was okay. I don't know. I don't particularly buy that. I was surprised by the decision to get rid of him, but you know, he wants to play a different identity under Ange, which is, you know, fair enough. But you know, it doesn't always lead to success straight away. I don't know. I do feel as though some Forest fans, maybe the majority, Dave could say it for me or not, I see some tweets online. I think this shouldn't be how you are right now. I think it was 14 consecutive seasons in the Championship before they were promoted the same season as us. So that was 2022. We still go into every season. I know that we're doing really well at the moment. We did really well last season. It's brilliant. We're always looking over our shoulder because that's just how we are as people. We are maybe natural pessimists, and we're kind of thinking if we get 17th, happy days. We are delighted with that. It seems to be that Forest have been on a really good, you know, trajectory last season, which I completely understand, but they almost believe it too much. And now they think that, you know, success is the only answer a little bit. And I don't know. I just feel, I mean, I see some fan channel. I mean, I don't know what it's called, but it's a Forest one, but some really disparaging tweets about their own players sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm just like, how has it come to this? And you see some like Nottingham Forest fans, even in the reply, saying, you know, like, you don't represent our club and all this kind of stuff. It's like, that's a fan base that's divided right there. So at the moment, it is early days. I'm sure Ange will pull it together, but from a public perception of Nottingham Forest at the moment, it seems really fractured. But maybe Ange is the man to repair it. But I sense he'll be walking a tightrope under Marinakis, who seems to pull the trigger a bit too easily.
Can I just, Dan? Can I just come back?
Of course.
Sam is so perceptive. You have such respect for him. We talked many times, me and Sam, about football, and that's exactly it. I'm all for like a breadth, a view, a diversity of opinions, but sometimes it'd be nice to have a consensus. And I despair at times when I see the basic lack of respect, the sheer unkindness, the vilification, the character assassination, of people who are doing their jobs in front of thousands of people under such incredible microscopic scrutiny. And I look across the patch. I've kind of, in a few recent weeks, I've kind of got to the point where I kind of thought, this is so hostile. It's not pleasant. A couple of times at the end of last season, and I'm a season ticket holder, I go to every game. I'm on my own. It's what I love to do. I go with incredibly lovely friends who I enjoy going to football with, who are decent people, lovely people. Some of you lads know. But I've sat in the stadium and I've heard people who seem to me to need a psychiatrist's couch, people who regard human error. So when Manchester United, Nottingham Forest, Sunderland and Bournemouth play this weekend, as they do, every single one of those lads who dons those shirts knows the responsibility. Every single one of those lads, some of them might be really, really nervous about what they're going to do. My empathy goes into the heads of all of those players. There's so much responsibility on them. There's so much determination. But in trying hard, we try 100% one day, we get one result. We try 100% the next day, we get an entirely different result. That's the human condition. And I see so many people these days who regard human error as willful acts of sabotage. And I'm kind of thinking, are you really like that with your family? Are you like that with your loved ones? Are you like that with your friends? Because to me, when I go to Forest, I look at our lads. I'll be looking at my lads tomorrow from the away end at Turf Moor, and I'll be wanting the best for whoever those 11 are. And in a way, they're my family because they're like my second family because I invest so much time and emotion in them. And some of the things I hear, it's like, people say, yeah, but the world's cutthroat, Dave, and all this kind of stuff. Can we not just have a basic human kindness? This is why when I come on shows like this, I don't want to disrespect Manchester United or Bournemouth or Sunderland or whatever.
There's no point, Dave. There's nothing left to do.
They do it themselves anyway.
We all football boys, you know what I mean? That's the basic fundamental.
No, I agree. And you know something? There's something that I will always say, and I as a United fan, I see United fans do this, and I've seen it this week after the news. The news that Manchester United essentially have potentially given Amorim 3 games. And look, I'm not a fan of the way Amorim plays football. I think it's not right for the Premier League. I think the way he's doing it is wrong. But if you're asking me if I'd ever want my team to lose just so that a manager could go, I can tell you right now, you're not a football fan if you say that, because at the end of the day, regardless of thoughts, and Ben and Ben's there as well. Ben's up from my channel, and Ben and I have long conversations about whether Amorim's right. I don't think he is, but at the end of the day, come 5:30 tomorrow, when those boys step onto that turf at Old Trafford, I want what's best for my club, and that is points. I want 3 points, and I want us to push forward. I think the problem is, and you know what, sometimes I think social media has a big part to play in it, is whereas 30 years ago, we're all old enough to definitely know that. I don't know if Conrad is. Actually, Conrad might be a bit younger. We're all old enough to remember back in the day.
Paper round.
Tough paper round, right? I'm actually 22. But we all remember back in the day before social media, when our teams were doing bad, you'd see your mate at the pub, you'd see him at work, and you go, Christ, we were bad this week. And you'd read it in the paper. Now it is everywhere for them to see. And do you know what? In some aspects, it's good because we get the opportunity to come on here and talk about a club. But I think if you're wanting your team to lose, if you're wanting people to fail, if you're wanting that, then I kind of feel like, is football for you? Is football for you? Because we do have issues, we do have problems. But look, I could talk about it all night. Let's go. Let's have a little bit of positivity, because again, I haven't seen this beautiful man since Nottingham. Talking about Nottingham, where he held a camera in my face, and I was a little worse for wear, but I managed to look at I looked at the footage, and it wasn't too bad. It was longer than the world.
Yes, mate.
Talk to me about Bournemouth and what has been, I think, a fantastic start to the season for you, mate.
Yeah, really good. I mean, given that we lost 4 out of 5 of our back line, we've had other players depart as well. We know that we're a club where players will just turn up and they'll go a couple of seasons later. We are a stepping stone. We're a gateway to many players reaching the clubs that they want to reach, either in the Premier League or over Europe, like Zabani, like Kirkes, like Howson. We had Kepa on loan. Obviously, he went to Arsenal. Dango Ouattara's left us. We're a club where we know that players aren't going to, be with us for long. Therefore, we've got to maximise, what they can provide us during that time, and we've got to flog them on for good money. But what that means is that Iraola, season on season, he's got a bloody job on his hands to actually mould these players into what he needs them to do. And the fact that he's done it so quickly, I mean, it's helped AFC Bournemouth, but it's also raised the caliber of Andoni Iraola himself, who's being linked with clubs like Manchester United and stuff, which is not really a surprise. I mean, I know it's early days, I know it's only 4 games, of course, but we're seeing signs already that he's got this team playing already, given we've got so many new players in the side. I think out of the Brighton team that we last beat, only 4 players started in the last game than started the last time we played them back in March or whatever it was at their place. So shows you that there's always going to be a lot of churn when it comes to AFC Bournemouth. But as long as we've got someone like Iraola to mould it all together, we'll be all right. And we've been playing some really good football. Even in the first game against Liverpool, which was a 4-2 loss, we showed signs in that we were...
Could have got something, Sam. Could have got something, mate. Played brilliantly.
Could have and should have.
Do you know something, Sam? Like, you've got Zabani?
It's Zabani, yeah.
Zabani, Howson, Kirkes, and is it? I can't even say his name. Ouattara. Yeah. 4 players that left your club with, I'm looking, 120. Look, 200 million, shall we say, roughly? Yeah. Now, for most clubs, those type of signings leaving your club, and look, 3 of them are defenders there. You'd look at it and you go, okay, well, look, we've had a good run. We've had a good run here, but we've been decimated here. And yet Iraola just seems to look at it and go, yeah, that's fine. I'll find new ones that will come in. And I asked the question, we talk about the top teams in history of Premier League, the top managers that have been famed for rebuilding a title-winning side after a process of 5 or 6 years being at the top. We saw Ferguson do it. We saw Pep do it. Iraola's having to rebuild this side season after season, and he's been there 2.5 years now. 2.5 years. You'd have to say that the job this guy's doing, it's incredible. And again, I go back to this season. Your wins have come against Spurs. Everyone's saying Spurs are this new team under Frank, and they're going to run away with it. You beat them 1-0. Then you've got Brighton. Nobody likes playing Brighton. I fucking hate playing Brighton. But you get the results, and it's a testament to what you've got behind the scenes, and I think it's a testament to the way your manager runs it as well.
Big time. I mean, yeah, you're right. 2.5 seasons. This will be his 3rd. He always honours his contracts, which is a good thing. So even if Man United came in now, there's no way he'd go until the end of the season anyway. We're trying to secure him for another couple of seasons after that. But yeah, he came in after Gary O'Neill was harshly let go. Everyone called it ludicrous. Richard Keys was like scandalous decision. Gary Lineker was kicking off on Twitter just because, some young potential English, star of a manager, got the boot. But there was a reason for it, because they wanted to play a specific identity, which was not achievable under Gary O'Neill. It took a while to start, but eventually the wheels started turning. And I think in his first season, that was a record-breaking season for AFC Bournemouth, even though we started abysmally. Then the next season after that, he broke the points record again. Last season, he broke the points record too. So things are really looking good for us, I've got to say. The one thing I would say that's maybe a joyful part of all these players, like Howson, like Kirkes, like Zabani, playing for AFC Bournemouth and then, disappearing. That's the best advert for playing for AFC Bournemouth.
Oh,
for,
100%.
for any player. If you play for Bournemouth under this manager, within 1 or 2 seasons, you will get the move that you want. Because we would love to keep him, of course we could, but we've got to buy low and we've got to sell high. Thankfully, we've got a really good recruitment team at the moment that seem to identify these targets that I've never bloody heard of. How they do it, I don't know. It's almost like the Brighton blueprint. But yeah, we're seemingly doing it, and yeah, this season we're getting results. I mean, that Spurs 1-0, it should have been
10,
and that would have flattered them. Getting a victory over Brighton was huge for us because they've always been our bogey side. But we're up on points over the teams that we've played last season. I'm now licking my lips at playing Newcastle on Sunday. I'm licking my lips. There's not a team I think it's only Liverpool and Man City that we think, oh, this might be tough. Everyone else we know will give them a game. So yeah, things are looking bright. I know we're running hot at the moment, and there are going to be dips. Of course there are. So my feet are on the ground, and whilst we're fourth at the moment, I'm not going to be singing any Champions League songs yet. However, yeah, things are looking incredibly good. Our downfall last season was having a squad that was sparse at times. In January we had a massive injury crisis. We had to play development.
Beat us 5-0.
Beat you 5-0 at the same time. Yeah, granted, but we went to Newcastle 1-4-1 there with 12 players, bringing on the play school at the end. That was fine. But yeah, but now we've got whilst we've had a number of players out, we've had pretty good turnover in terms of the players we've got in as well. So for every position, there's a decent understudy. So even when the squad's stretched, I'm hoping that will see us through and there'll be quality to come on. So yeah, I can't complain, mate. I can't complain.
Just with that, and I'll come to Conrad to get his opinion as well. But the Oracle's just put a good comment here, and it says, how much do you think Semenyo would go for? Because, I mean, look, there's no secret here. And you talk about players wanting to come and learn how they play in the Prem, get their experience, enjoy their football, and get that big move. And I will ask you a following question after that. But what do you think for Semenyo? Because United were linked, apparently, but the money was too much.
Yeah, I think Semenyo is a absolutely lovely player, by the way. He's a very, very grounded individual. Bristol City, I think he was on loan at Bath, Newport. He was at Sunderland for a bit, played maybe 6 or 7 games there, and then played for us. So he's got his feet on the ground. And what Ariela's done is converted him from a striker, where he was, to a winger. And that's what he does. He's a bit like Eddie Howe in that he, like he did with Joe Linton, no, actually, you're not good there. Why don't I'll play you here. And then he thrives. Yeah, I am concerned. But he signed an extended contract last season. I think that was just to basically up the release clause. We learned from being, I suppose in hindsight, you can say we got stung by Real Madrid for them taking Howson for 50 million when he could have gone for more, but that was that was in his contract as a release clause. So, how do we know he was going to be that good? We signed him for 15 million and 38 games later, we're flogging him for triple that, more than triple that.
Didn't he, Howson, I think?
He did. Yeah, he scored a header, yeah.
Everyone scores against us, I don't know.
Yeah, Semenyo probably did as well. But yeah, I mean, he would be going for more because I'm sure they've increased the release clause on that. I just think the beauty of him is he's right-footed, left-footed. He can play on the right flank, left flank. If you're a fullback and he's running at you, you don't know which way he's going to go. He could go onto his left foot to the byline. He could cut in on his right. If he's on the other side, vice versa. Scary prospect. I'd like to think 75. I'd like to think that.
I think that'd be a good premium.
Who knows? Yeah.
And the one thing before I come to Conrad on his opinions about Bournemouth, I'm going to say something that's going to shock you here, Sam, and I want you to let me finish my point.
Go on.
I don't want Iriola at United.
Good. You know what? I love you, Dan. I've always really liked you.
I wanted him at Forest because I think pound for pound, taking it into consideration, I think he's the best manager in the Premier League.
And this is why I don't want him, because I think if he come to United at the moment is just a cancerous club, and I feel like we would destroy the bloke. And I think any manager with Manchester United, and we'll talk about my lot later on, but any manager at the moment, we've got Amorim that, is he staying? Is he going? The next appointment, if they do make the change, I just think Manchester United fans need to be prepared for the fact that I don't think we're an attractive outfit for these managers. These managers like Iriola, these managers like Glasner, these managers who are up and coming. Well, Glasner's not up and coming, but these managers who are doing it in the Premier League, and everyone's saying these guys are fantastic. Yeah. I just don't think that it's the right move for them, and that's why I don't see it being the fit. And I wouldn't want to do that.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, Moyes wasn't good enough. Van Gaal wasn't good enough. Mourinho wasn't good enough. Like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wasn't good enough. Ten Hag wasn't good enough. And now fans are saying that Amorim isn't good enough. There's something culturally there that's wrong. I don't know what it is in particular, but somehow it still, attracts these players because they know they're going to get a payday. They know they're playing in front of 75,000 people every week. It's a club where it's almost like, like the Harlem Globetrotters, Globetrotters, easy for me to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Almost like an exhibition thing.
Lemon.
Yeah. Like almost like an exhibition game.
Dude. Yeah.
Just, turning up. It's not Soccer Aid at Old Trafford. You're playing for Manchester United, and they don't seem to realise that at the time. So I don't know. I think it's not the right fit for Iriola. I think I think Man United are probably looking for someone with a little bit more higher stock than that. That's maybe been at bigger clubs than little old Bournemouth for sure. And I wouldn't lose any sleep if they did not or weren't in the conversation, because I absolutely love the guy and I want him to stay forever.
Conrad, obviously, looking at you guys being promoted, and you look at teams like Bournemouth who have come into the division, and for me as a neutral fan, as a neutral football fan, I love nothing more than a team coming up from the Championship, causing mayhem, and then establishing themselves and staying up there. Does the way that Bournemouth are doing things, and Dave, and Forest, of course, as well, but does this give you as a hope as a fan who's come up to look at these teams and go, do you know what? If they can do it, why can't we? Why can't we? And I think, I'll take you. Go through. You take the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the model that we've been trying to do. Obviously, in League One and the Championship, it's a bit different. You're buying players on either frees or for a couple 100,000 and trying to flog them on for a few million. But that's exactly what we did with the most high profile one at the minute is Bellingham. We bought him for 3 million and sold him for 32-ish, I think, at the start of the season as well. And then reinvested that money straight into other players. Watson was a free, he came for our academy, but then we still sold him for 10+ million as well. So we're trying to do that sort of same thing that Brighton, Bournemouth do. I remember when Wigan used to do it back in like the 2010s when they had as Sam was saying before, like the stepping stone. It was like Valencia, Palacios, Rodallega, all to move over to like come here, play 2 seasons, then go somewhere else. And that was the sort
of. Wasn't Leighton Baines there as well?
Yeah, I think so. Did he come through? I don't know if he came through there, but he was there. They had some great players, Wigan, back in the day, and they were doing all right. And look where they are now. Feel their pain because we've been there as well. But this is the type of thing that Sunderland need to be doing, and making sure that when we buy these players, and if I name a few like Diarra that we've bought, a 21-year-old, really good prospect, and if we can just get some sort of tune out of him. A couple of seasons time, there's no saying that we don't sell him on for a profit as well and then reinvest it back into somebody else. The only one I think isn't in that sort of, there's two, is Xhaka and Reinildo because of their age being 31 and 32, but we needed experience as well. We've seen that from the likes of Ipswich last season, you can't just buy non-Premier League players, no experience, and just go, it's going to work. Like it'll just, the style is there. So we've had to sort of have a little bit of amalgamation of the two, but it's very much copy and paste of these two and Brighton's and things like that, and go, you buy a player for as little money as you can, you play him, you get him to be as good as he can. Our keeper's probably the prime example at the moment, where he'd only really played one professional season last year, but we looked into the goalkeeping metrics, as it were, and went, he's great at coming out and claiming crosses. He's a great shot stopper and he's quick off his line, which has served us fantastic in 4 games.
What's it like to have a goalkeeper that does that? I'm asking for a friend.
I know, I know. It must be sad when you've gone from like the likes of Schmeichel and Van der Sar and even I suppose Bartes on some sort of level.
Alex Stepney.
Who was the one who chucked it through his Tayibi? Was it?
Whoa! That was his studs. That wasn't anything to do with it.
It was the tracky bottoms he was wearing, like Karai, wasn't it, for Crystal Palace? Yeah. it's nice, especially when we actually didn't think we needed an upgrade on the keeper. But that's sometimes the best sign when you go, "What? We didn't need this one." And he comes in and you go, "Actually, yeah, we really did need that. Look at all this difference it's causing us." And the Palace game is the example last week. Without that goalkeeper, we don't win that game, and we lose 3 or 4-0 because of it. Even though the defense was great, the keeper was just sort of on another level, really.
No, I agree. Before we continue, Mrs. Potts in the house. Mrs. Potts, the oracle of the channel, and
I'll give her a like.
Yes, she's. Make sure, chat. We've got well over 50 in here, so hit that like button now, please. I've
done one now myself. There you go.
Let's make sure that we're doing our part here now. I'm gonna throw this to Dave. With Sunderland, we spoke a couple of weeks ago about Sunderland and about how they were looking. They're not looking bad, are they? Considering they're a promoted side. And
I like hearing people say it. It's great. I love it.
No, what are our thoughts here? Are we looking at Sunderland and looking at the clubs that come up and going, hang on a minute?
I'm thinking, Robbo. I'm thinking it's the first time for maybe 2 or 3 seasons since the last great promotion class. They talk about in the NFL. They talk about those great drafts of quarterbacks and running backs and you name it. There was a great championship class of Fulham, AFC Bournemouth, and Nottingham Forest. All came up at the same time, and they stayed up. I think this season, I'm not sure that all 3 of them will stay up, but I'm pretty sure that not all 3 of them will go down. No. And of the 3, they've all got assets. All 3 of them. Burnley have got a defensive way of playing that served them well at that level and pushed Liverpool all the way last week.
Glad you didn't say Scott Parker.
Yeah. I'm not going to mention the name because if I mention that name, my journey up the M6 tomorrow will be terrible, right? Yeah. I look at Leeds, and Leeds have got Ellen Road, which is always a weapon, right? And I look at Sunderland, and Sunderland are sort of a Forest first season after promotion light example of recruitment, not as bizarre and extreme as ours was. I look at Sunderland's recruitment. I think Xhaka is a really canny signing. He was terrific in Leverkusen and redeemed his career, if you like, in Leverkusen. And he wasn't that bad at Arsenal. I think that's really good. Adingra, I think, is a really good signing. The goalkeeper, Roofs, to me, reminds me of when we bought Matt Sells for barely anything from Strasbourg. And I think there's a lot of similes between Selzy, who's been, even in our little poor run that we're in at the moment, Selzy's still Selzy, and he's making good saves. And I see Roofs in that. I love Labrie. I think Labrie, I like these guys who don't shout from the rooftops and are not giving it big licks. That's the trouble with my club at the moment. Everybody, players, managers, whatever, giving it, YouTubers, fans, giving it big licks. No, shut up. Stop drawing attention to ourselves. Labrie goes about his business nicely and quietly. I did think the thing about Sunderland and the pleasant surprise for me is I watched the playoff final and I watched it and I thought to myself, God, neither of these are going to do anything in the Premier League. It's no disrespect, Conrad. I looked at true. Blades, if you like, for an hour with a better team, but I kind of thought Blades go up, they go straight back down. And so just by the continuation of that logic, I kind of thought Sunderland, I was kind of thinking, yeah, enjoy your day, Sunderland. It's going to be really, really tough. But Sunderland have gone to another level, in my view. Not a massively exaggerated level. They've a subtle, gradual, incremental level of being a better side than we thought. I was unbelievably chuffed with a point at Palace when we went there, second game of the season. Yeah. So if I'm putting, and this is what so many of our fans can't do, they can't put themselves in the position of a supporter of another club. If I'm in Conrad's head, bless you, Conrad, I wouldn't wish that on you, mate. But if I'm in your head, I'm coming away from Selhurst Pond thinking, if that's part of progression, that's a hell of a point for us to get at Crystal Palace. FA Cup winners, European team, on their day more than a match for all the big guns. I've got a lot of time for what Sunderland have done, and they've kind of done it in a little way by stealth.
Yeah,
we being us had to do everything in the public eye. Sunderland haven't done it in the public eye. Bournemouth don't do it in the public eye. I mean, in their ways, the 2 gentlemen below us, Robbo, are probably the 2 most pleasant surprises in the league in their different ways. Bournemouth are playing fantastic football. They could easily be 100% because they could easily have won at Liverpool on that first night. They're playing terrific football. they've maintained their identity, whereas like we've lost ours. And Sunderland, who I thought would be, a little bit vulnerable, look to have a nice way of going about it, a good solid structure, psychologically as well as tactically, because I think too much is put into tactics and not enough put into psychology. If you've got 11 heads all traveling in the same direction, you've got a good start. So, I'm so happy to say to Conrad, as a non-Sunderland supporter, things that I'm sure he would like to hear, because I think Sunderland have been a pleasant surprise. Yeah. The thing for Sunderland now is, the thing for all of us is, the two guys below us are having a great start. But my example, the one I've got in my head all the time at the moment is Palace. We've got it in table order now. Look, he's up there, and But the thing is, last season Crystal Palace played 9 games without a win, and were in disarray, and ended up with the greatest season in their history. So, as Sam said so correctly before, it's good now, but this is a long old season, and there will be peaks and troughs.
Oh, yeah.
Sunderland at the moment, a lovely surprise.
I mean, I'll ask you this, Conrad, and I'll come to Sam. I listened to, as of course I would. I'm always going to listen to Roy Keane's stuff. I loved his autobiography, and I listened to his second one, and it was about when he was managing, and his whole plan when he took Sunderland up was, look, we've just got to get the points, we've got to get the home wins, and that's it, and we've just got to get to the magic 40. Now, your first 4 games, yes, the season's in its infancy, but you've got 7 points from your first 4 games. You're averaging more than a point a game, which is fantastic. Had to make sure I didn't do any Aluko there and get my maths wrong. But you are, and what I want to 2 seconds, Gordon. I've seen some of these comments, mate. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a timeout for a second because you're doing me head in with that. Sorry about that. So, no, and what I wanted to sort of ask you is that what you've come into this season sort of looking at? Look, if we can just get the points here and there, aim for that magical number of
17.
17th, and then we move forward from that. Is that what you're looking at? Or after these first 4 games, you sat there and going, hang on a minute, this Premier League ain't that bad, is it? This ain't that bad. Where are your thoughts of it?
We all like to sort of have a little moment after each game so far where we go, oh, it's easy, this. Like, what's everyone start talking about? But
pray for it.
We all realistically know that we just have to take it one game at a time. And I know when you were talking about Labrie before, that's probably the best thing about him. When people ask him about point targets or where you'll think you'll be in 38 games time, he's not bothered about that at the moment. He's bothered about Aston Villa on Sunday. He's bothered about Nottingham Forest the week after. So we're very much most of the fans are sort of going on this, it's one game at a time. So first game, it was West Ham. How do we get past West Ham? We've got 11 new players playing on that day, maybe 2 that sort of survived the playoff final and both scored as well. And then it's right, Burnley, what do we do there? And there was a mistake at Burnley. I don't think we quite realised they were going to sort of set up as defensively at home against us, which was to our own detriment, really, as we threw ourselves at them and tried to win it a different way, which wasn't right. But then we come back, we reassess and go, right, Brentford, what are they going to do? Like, instead of trying to sort of go, we need to play the Sunderland way, it's not about that. It's like you said with Roy Keane, but in a lot calmer way with Labrie. It's how do I get the points on the board? How do I maximize each game to get what we need? And the target will change throughout the season. So at the minute, that target will be possibly a points total of, I want 40 points. But it doesn't say how quickly we need to get to that 40 points. And then once you get there, I can only assess it to very similar to how Leicester won the league. And I'm not saying we're going to win the league, but every time they asked Ranieri throughout the season at the start, whoa, hey, you're top of the league, this is great, you're going to win it. And he kept going, well, 40 points, we've stayed up now. And this is in like November, December time. And I don't know, I can't do maths either. And then when they sort of went, oh, Champions League, you've just beaten Man City, you're about 3 games away from winning it. And he was like, no, top 4 cemented now. That's all that matters. It was just what the goal was at that moment and being happy with those little wins as you move on. And that's exactly what we're going to do. It's Villa on Sunday. Get as many points out of that as we can possibly do. And I think we're playing them at a very good time. And then it'll be, actually, are we then playing Forest at a very good time to be playing them while they're still in this transition? And are we still then playing Man United at a fantastic time in the week after? It's sort of fallen perfectly for us. Don't look at December's fixtures because that's not fallen perfectly for us. That is horrific. But at the moment, just one game at a time.
Karma.
This show is the Conrad benefit because like he's playing me and you, Robbo, isn't he? You know what I mean? It's just unbelievable.
I don't mean it in a nasty. It's because if Nuno was still there, it's got to be like, all right, this is how we assess it. And now we're sitting there going, well, hang on, Ange is in, but how quickly has he got his message over? How quickly is this gone in? Are the players still going to sort of in a moment in a transition default back to what they were doing with Nuno or Ange going to take? It's just. Do you know what,
Conrad? I think. That was the only plus point going into Arsenal last week. Would Arteta know which Forest he was going to get? Right. In the end, Arsenal were just too good, whatever it was. And I think the recruitment, the point I've been making as I've looked back, is the recruitment was done with Ange in mind.
Yeah.
I saw in amongst the bitter irritation of Wednesday night, there were a hell of a lot of good signs. Igor Jesus, Hutchinson, Bakwa. Bakwa looks a really good, like very Madueke-like. Not as good, but decent. And I think it's just a case. I think there's some really good pieces there. It's just Andy's sifting at the moment.
Yeah, but he's got to find his team.
Yeah, but Sunderland are going to come. To me, I think Sunderland's a really dangerous game because Labrie knows what his structure is. All the Sunderland lads seem to know they bought in. So of the two, I mean, we're all up in the air. Sunderland are nice and settled. So very, very. I mean, we play Burnley tomorrow, Sunderland next week with Betis in between, and Betis is the one I feel the most confident about.
So, Samo, what are your thoughts on Sunderland and sort of essentially coming up there? Are you looking at this team as a team of like okay, they've established themselves at the start of the season of like this is the way we're going to play football. That we're looking at the way we're climbing. Do you see them as a team that could quite easily upset the apple cart and cause a few flusters this season?
Yeah, I think they'll certainly get some results that will shock. I don't think they'll be like hitting top 10 or anything, but I think they'll be absolutely fine. The first game, what was it, West Ham, where they smashed them 3-0. I sort of thought like when you're a club as big as Sunderland are with their like huge fan base that you've got a hell of a chance just by being big. I've got no rhyme or reason for that, but I just feel as though when you're a big club, you've got more of a chance of staying in the Premier League. And getting that result, I thought was a real statement, but now I look at West Ham, I was like, was it? I don't know.
That's what I said a few weeks ago on the same show when it felt amazing at the time, and then 3 weeks later it didn't feel good anymore, because everyone had done it.
Can I put some value back into Sunderland's win by saying Nottingham Forest 0, West Ham United 3?
Exactly.
Yeah, fair point. But then I think the crunch game was after that against Burnley, where it felt like a really big game, only two matches in, and losing that, that made me sort of wonder. But since then, I mean, that 2-1 against Brentford, that is no mean feat because Brentford are a very well organised side, and also the draw at Palace, like Dave said, this is a team that only recently, managed to win the Charity Shield. They can upset anyone on their day. They're a very good side. The signings that they've got, I sort of thought, oh my God, I hope it works for them, because if it doesn't, Jesus, but it is working for them. They've taken a bit of a gamble, but it's been a calculated gamble. They've got the right players in that seem to have hit the ground running for them. Fair play to them. I want them to stay up. I mean, like my car doesn't. Me
too.
Because it's a bloody long journey. However, I would absolutely love
You can relegate Newcastle and we'll stay up just the one journey then. Yeah, that's fine.
Right. I've obviously, but I'm gonna give you the floor, guys. It's only fair. We spoke about your clubs. I will allow you to give me an open, honest assessment of Manchester United and exactly where you think this is going wrong. We'll go with you first, Samo.
I still don't know what Manchester United are. I still don't I don't know what to expect when I see them take to the pitch. I've got no idea really still of their identity. Amorim looks lost at times. I mean, some of those memes that were coming out after whatever he's doing with those magnets, absolutely hilarious stuff. But I don't know really. But one thing I would say is that 3-0 against Manchester City, that's, that is not the result to sort of look into everything, because I know that they've not had a brilliant start, but they're a bloody good side and they're going to be up there again this season. As for your other results, 1-0 against Arsenal, you outplayed them for a lot of it. And I thought that you were really good. And Arsenal came to frustrate. They certainly did. Yeah, draw against Fulham was, probably maybe a bit sort of disappointing, but to go to their place and, get a draw at Craven Cottage, I think isn't too bad. I suppose it's like you're looking at things like the Carabao Cup, where you're going out to Grimsby and then only just beating Burnley as well.
Whoa. We're talking about Grimsby, who just knocked Sheffield Wednesday out of it.
Huge side.
Like 4 players over the age of 12 playing Sheffield Wednesday.
Context is all in it.
I think that it's right that he has more games, because he's not had long enough this season to know exactly what they're all about. But I mean, I get excited when I play Manchester United. We're playing you yet again around Christmas at Old Trafford, which I bloody love because it's always 3-0. And I'll be confident again that we could do it again this season. I really do. But it doesn't. Sometimes it feels like it's going somewhere, and then it's pulled back again. It's like, oh, are they? So I don't know. He's a manager that, if he goes on like he is, needs a lot of time. But I can imagine why it's frustrating. But is there a problem bigger than the manager itself? Probably.
I agree. Conrad, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, my ones were a lot of the players you signed are obviously good players on paper, but you didn't address the biggest issue, which was your manager's decision of a midfield. Like most teams play a 3 now, or very sort of, or a 5 if they're sort of playing it in a certain way. And I thought you actually had decent defenders. I think Yoro is a great defender. I think De Ligt is good on his day as well. And Maguire, for everyone slating him, is a good defender as well at most times. When you were at the top of the leagues, under Ollie, you could see where his frailties were, but for where you are at the minute, he's perfectly fine. I think your wing backs is where you needed some major upgrades, and you've sort of shoehorned Diallo in there when actually he's not a right wing back. He's a right forward, as we showed in the Championship. But you bought a right forward, and then you're not playing him as a right forward. You're playing him as like a number 10. Cunha is a number 10 and has got injured, and we haven't seen the best out of him yet. And he's looked decent when he is playing. Bruno, I don't know where he plays at any point, and I don't know if it's because he's completely sort of and it's probably, I don't mean this in a nasty way, he's very undisciplined in a positional sense of his game. You find him just cropping up all over the pitch, which is great on your day, and he's absolutely everywhere. But when you need to be as organised as your midfield needs to be under Amorim, you just go missing, and then Mainoo's pulled out or Casemiro's run over here, and the gaps just sort of come in. And it was a bit like, if this is the big issue, why wasn't this thought of first, and then we build out and around it? And I get the striker thing, but I sort of think you've upgraded. Well, you've swapped a striker who wasn't doing the business for one that looks like he might not do the business really. And I know he was touted for Arsenal and for them up the road for me, but it wasn't as clear cut as being like, oh, he's ready. You drop him into this team and it's ready. If he were to go, because I keep reading they've given him 3 games to sort this out and go, which is Chelsea, somebody, and then Sunderland. But I don't know how many points they're saying 3 games to sort it out. I mean, when you're playing Sunderland, you should be aiming for 3 if you're Manchester United, not looking for anything else.
Don't do that to yourself.
No, I'm saying what you should aim for. It's not what you're going to get, but you should aim for that. And then, I mean, when we were talking about managers beforehand, or the chat was as well, I saw the one that I always think of that seems to have the right temperament, is probably the best way of saying it, but he's probably not high up on the list, but he has been in the Premier League before, was De Zerbi. He just had that arrogance about it, almost of like, I should be here, and he gets into his players and he tells them if it's not good enough, where I don't imagine Amorim at the minute walking in after a game and going, lads, what are we doing? I just think he sort of sulks down and sort of gets his whiteboard out and starts moving things around. And then, he just doesn't strike me as the type of guy that's very sort of like, this is going wrong and I need to do something about it. It's just, oh, well, it worked before, I'll keep going. That sort of thing.
Yeah, I hear it. I'll come to Dave in a second there. I just... I think he's got a lot of work to do there. And when you talk about the 3 games to save his job, I mean, as a Manchester United fan, and of course, I've seen us win everything. Of course, I have. I said on my show about this that, well, if you're giving him 3 games to win and you want this guy to turn it around, then surely you're expecting 9 points. Because what does a win and 2 draws prove? What does a win and 2 losses prove? It proves nothing. So they have to they have to think about it. And we heard in the press conference today, the word I hate is stats. He said, "Oh, I've spoken to Sir Jim and I've had Omar Barada here and Wilcox, and they've looked at the stats. Stats don't win your games. Goals win your games." Okay, I've seen Celtic beat Barcelona with 13-14% possession. Okay, I've seen them
2 shots on target all game.
Shots on target. Goals win your games. Dave, you've obviously you've seen us at our worst before this, and you remember that. That surprises me. You're still devilishly handsome at that age. But what are your thoughts on this?
Is that better?
Clark Kent. It's like Clark Kent here. What are your thoughts on Manchester United? And is this mess something that's too far gone now with Amorim?
I think it's very deep-seated, Dan. I mean, I'm lucky, unlucky, whichever way you want to look at it. I've seen so many iterations of Manchester United I was born 1964, so I saw that, as a little lad, I remember Best Law, Charlton, right? I also remember the year that Dennis Law put them down with a back heel. Dennis, of all people, for Manchester City, of all clubs at Old Trafford, put them down. And I've seen the sort of the fluctuations of Manchester United. I mean, the thing for Manchester United is they've had certainly for me, 2 of the greatest icons this game that we all love has ever had. We had 1 of the greatest icons this game's ever had. And when you get an icon of such magnitude, such colossal influence,
I'm assuming you're talking about Pierre Van Hooijdonk.
The very same. That's what I thought.
I think you know who I'm talking about. That lad from Middlesbrough who played a few games for Sunderland and scored a few goals for him. No, I mean, United had Sir Matt. And when Sir Matt decided he'd had enough, they replaced him with Wilf McGuinness. They replaced him with Franco Farrell. They eventually got the Doc. The Doc took him down. The Doc brought him back. Then it was Ron Atkinson. And it took nearly a decade, nearly 2 decades to replace that incredibly powerful, colossal influence. Then they got another guy in who, for a while, if Mark Robbins had not scored at the City Ground in an FA Cup tie, that next colossal icon at Manchester United would not have been in place. He'd have been sacked there and then. United beat Forest at the City Ground 1-0. Mark Robbins headed in, saved him. They won the FA Cup, and then he became that colossal icon. And I looked at the time when Sir Alex was saying, right, enough's enough now. I want to go on and do something else in my life. And I'm thinking, it took him 20 years to replace Sir Matt. It took Forest. In a way, it's still taking Forest a while to replace him. Although we're on a better footing now than we have been for so long. Yeah, and it's again, United are in this process of replacing Sir Alex. The only thing I would say about Manchester United is I sometimes feel with Manchester United, are they bigger off the field than they are on it? Because at times the football seems incidental. I was reading, right. This will probably upset Conrad. I get Viz Comic on subscription every month, right? And they had a spoof article in it where so many of the big Premier League clubs were going to give up the football and just do all the other stuff without actually playing a match, right? And I looked at it and I thought, it's directed at the bigger clubs because so much social media and branding and marketing and all this nonsense. And I looked at and I thought, United, if United actually didn't bother to, like, hey, Chelsea, don't bother getting on the coach. We're not bothering today. You stay in London. It's raining, so don't come, right? And I sometimes think with United, there's all this talk, and there's so much talk off the field and there is on it. I mean, on the field, I absolutely take Conrad's point. They didn't address the nuts and bolts areas of the team. They went and bought some lovely shiny baubles and Burmo, Sesko, Mateus Cunha. And it's almost like they cast around and thought, he looks all right. He looks all right. He looks all right. I could not see the kind of defined, connected up recruitment strategy that his lot have got, that his lot have got, and actually my lot have had. Now, our recruitment first year was a joke, quite rightly, but Forest have matured in their recruitment. I think the recruitment this time, based on certain things I saw on Wednesday night with players getting their first start, might not be that bad. Not great, but all that bad. I just look at United and they just cast around he had a few good games for Brentford. He had a few good games for Leverkusen or whoever. He had a few good games for Wolves.
I think it was.
and I just look at it, Dan, and I know so many Manchester United supporters. They're all fantastic people. There's lads come in my gym, and you can tell the Manchester United supporters when they come in because they have to come up to me for Uncle Dave, yeah. So it's just so scattergun. It's just so lacking. I mean, Bournemouth have got an identity. Sunderland are developing a nice identity. Brentford have an identity. We had an identity. We're trying for a different identity, and maybe there is a strategy there. Manchester United, just to me, looks like it's like you shake the iron filings and you get a different thing every time the filings come to rest. So the uncertainty is the only certainty about Manchester United, and that cannot be healthy in any situation.
I hear it. And look, Manchester United, I like what you said there about, big club off the pitch. I've said this for a while. Big club by reputation, not by nature. And nature, I mean, on the field, doing what is the thing that's put them to where they are as a global phenomenon, and regardless of what people say about United, regardless of us being in the doldrums, our sponsorships at a record high, in matchday revenue, the fans across the world buying the merchandise. It's a big, big job. And sometimes I kind of feel like, yes, Amorim's only been there 11 months. And yes, he's an emotional guy. And I get that. He's young. He's got to learn that. But I think sometimes you need to read the room, and to be the Manchester United manager, you've got to be able to do that. I don't think he does it well enough. Now, yes, he's had to put up with a lot since he's gone there. We've had to get rid of a lot of players, and bad eggs, you would say bad eggs. Gaurav's put a comment here. Did Amorim bottle it with Rashford, Garnacho, Anthony and Mainu? Now Rashford looking like a great player at Barca. And Gaurav, I disagree with that, because I've watched Rashford his entire career. And I've seen Rashford go 9-10 games doing nothing, which we've seen him kind of do at Barca at the start of his career. Then he'll hit an absolute wildy, and you'll go, oh, hang on a minute. Right, this is the Rashford. Rashford's not consistent enough. So I don't think he's got it wrong with Rashford there. But Donna says here, who do you think will be the first manager to lose his job this season, and when do you think it might be? And I take what she's getting at with that. I just feel like with Manchester United and with Amorim, I don't see it being a cutthroat decision. Like, I think even if we were to do poorly in these 3 games, I actually feel like they would keep him there. I think what they've done is they've brought this manager from Sporting Lisbon. They've said to him, you've got to come now. Either come now or don't come at all. And the reason they've done that, from my part, is simple. They firmly expected Amorim to go to a big club. They expected if he was to wait to the end of the season, a City or someone would have come and got him. And now City fans might say, we don't want that manager, but before he come to United under Sporting Lisbon, every club in the world wanted him. He was a big reputation, a young up and coming manager. So for me, Manchester United need to sort this mess out. They didn't sort the midfield out, and they're struggling so much in the midfield when, you know what, they've got a young lad on the bench called Kobe Mainu who is a central midfielder. They're playing the biggest square peg in the biggest round hole in Bruno. Bruno is a 10 by nature. He has done everything he has done in the game at Manchester United, playing in that free role, creating things. He is not going to be the man to have that. And I think it was Conrad that said, was it you, Conrad, who said discipline? He's not got the discipline to be a central midfielder. So he's got a lot of work to do, Amorim, and I hope it starts against Chelsea. I literally hope on Sunday I'm sat there going, last night we won a game, unbelievable, and we go to Brentford and we build. But at this moment, I think he's got a lot of work to do, and I think he's got a lot of soul searching to do to understand if he is the man to do something. So who knows? Manchester United will always be a banter club, and quite rightly so for a lot of rival fans. I'm very fortunate. I've seen us win everything. I've enjoyed the good times. It's quite rightly my turn to do it. I've been there and laughed at Liverpool. I've been there and laughed at Chelsea. I've even, and Mrs. Potts will probably tell me off for this, I've laughed at Arsenal when it's not been going right there. Football has cycles. Manchester United are in a horrific one at the moment, but do you know what? Cycles come to an end. Will it happen now? Probably not. Will it happen in the future? time will tell. But I'm certainly not sat here saying that I'm throwing my shirt in the bin and I want us to lose. Like I said before, this club means the world to me. It means a lot to a lot of fans out there. And ultimately, football is football. Now, let's go through the predictions. We'll start on my club because I don't want to come back to us at the end because I don't want us to talk too much about United. United, Chelsea. Let's go around the table. Dave, what do you think the score will be?
I fancy Chelsea down 2-1. I'm really sorry, mate.
Don't apologise. Yeah. Okay, 2-1. What are you saying, Samo?
Oh, what, for me or for you?
For me, for United.
Oh God. I don't know. I think you might scrape a 1-0 win. Unlikely. I don't know.
Teachers bet you are.
But it's one of those games. It's one of those games where they just probably will. No one expects it, and then everyone's going to be on a high. Then then they can have a low again in the next match. It just, like even that's cyclical as well.
Do you know what, Sam? I don't care about the low because I'll be in Butlins in Bognor Regis. I'll be 10 sheets for the win by then. Yeah. Conrad, what are your thoughts, mate? What are you thinking of the United game?
I think Chelsea bounce back from the Champions League and probably win 2-0. I want to say I have a feeling you're not going to score and it's going to start to drive that sort of Sesko narrative again, rather unfairly after a few games, but it just seems to be on his back quickly, Yeah.
I'm going to... is Gordon saying something about my hair? Something about Mary? It's powder, Gordon. So I'm going to go with I'm going to go 2-1 United. I'd like to hope that we can do something. We've obviously got the pantomime villain coming back for that game in Garnacho. If Casemiro's playing in that game, I fear for Garnacho's health. I'll be honest with you because I think he will be absolutely flying for him. But okay, that's perfect. Let's go to Conrad. So Conrad, you got Villa. What are your thoughts? And do you feel like you've got that win? What's your prediction?
I think we're going to win 1-0. I think Villa will still be a bit cagey. They've only scored one goal this season, which was in the Carabao Cup the other night. They're in a bit of a false position, really, for the squad they've got, but there seems to be something going wrong in the short term. And again, we said it on a couple of weeks ago. If Sunderland want to stay up, we have to maximise our points at home. So I think we steal a 1-0 win.
1-0 win. I'm going to go myself. I think you said it right before. I think you're playing Villa at the right time. I genuinely do. I think if there's a time to play them, it's now. And I think you can go into this game with kind of no fear. And I think what you need to be doing is not showing any respect either. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 win for Sunderland here. I think Sunderland will have enough. And I think the way they're set up is absolutely good enough. What about you, Davio?
I think it'll be Sunderland 1, Villa 1. Yeah. My only thing about Villa is this not scoring, when it becomes a thing, right, when it becomes a widely accepted or widely believed notion, that's when it doesn't happen. We went into our first match against Brentford. We'd scored 1 goal in 7 pre-season games. We were 3-0 up by half-time. My worry for Sunderland is that this Villa not scoring thing, all of a sudden, you say cycles come to an end. There's a cycle in itself, this Villa not scoring. But I think 1-1. I think Sunderland have enough good vibe, good momentum, good team spirit, humility, which is, to me, is the greatest thing any club can have is humility. And I think Sunderland have finally got it. Those documentary years and all that kind of stuff, they didn't have it. They've got it back now. 1-1 for me.
Love that. Samo?
Yeah, I'm going for 1-1 as well. I think, Villa will score a goal in the Premier League and it'll probably happen this weekend, but I think Sunderland will match it. So, yeah, 1-1 for me.
Love that. Perfect. Okay, we'll come to... I think we'll go to you next, Sam. You've got Newcastle at home, mate. How are you feeling about this one? Obviously, it's always like a bittersweet one, isn't it, when you play Newcastle because of Eddie Howe? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, unbeaten against him in the league. They play open football. Hopefully, they'll be knackered after Thursday. Will be relatively fresh, I think. It could be commentators' curse to say that we'll beat them, but I think we will. 3-1 for me.
3-1. Davio?
Bournemouth 4, Newcastle 1.
Ooh, wow.
I'm telling you now. Ooh. I've been looking at Bournemouth's whole psychology, where they sit in the food chain. They know where they sit in the food chain. Sam said it. Bournemouth are my dark horse for a European place this year. Bang on. I'm telling you. I think they beat Newcastle home and away last year, and that was with Isaac?
No, we should have beaten them at home.
Yeah.
I was going to say you got robbed with the sleeve on the shirt, and they said it's handball.
But they went to Newcastle and tore them a new backside. And I think this Newcastle is still good. Their midfield's excellent. They're quite solid at the back. You know, Pope's a decent keeper, but no Isaac. I have Bournemouth to win this comfortably. I think they make another statement, and I think they win 4-1.
Donna's just reminded me that I'd never say Billy's team would win, and quite rightly so. I bloody hate Villa because of Billy. He's absolutely honestly. I used to have a real affection for Villa, you know, from the old days. But Billy's just turned me into an absolute fan against him. Conrad, what about you, mate?
8-0. No, sorry.
I was waiting for that.
No, I'm hoping you win because of they were robbed last season from that bizarre handball decision. I think it's probably going to be the same score what it would have been. I think you'll win 2-1. I think they're probably going to be a bit knackered from the Champions League, and I don't think they've quite sorted out their forward line yet. I know Walter Made has scored, but the other times they're playing Gordon or Barnes up top, and it's just not quite the same.
Yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw. And the reason I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw is because I just kind of feel like this is going to be a lot more even than people give it credit for. I mean, Bournemouth's start to the season has been incredible, and I think Newcastle are, as you said, just finding their way. It'll be interesting to see how they pick themselves up from the midweek loss. And I can't believe I'm saying that. It's Barcelona, you know, it's a bloody big side they play. But this is the season now already. How I think. He's done well. He's earned his minerals. He's done extremely well with the budget he's had. They've spent a bit of money. They've lost Isaac. I'm intrigued just to see what they do with this forward line. So I'm going to go 2-2 with that. Davio, we'll finish on your boys away at Burnley. I bloody hate Burnley. Honestly, I hate Burnley. I can't stand. So I'm going to. Before you even start, I hope you beat them 5-0. I hate them. I hate
so
them.
do I as a relegation rival.
Yeah, I hate them. So Davio, go on. What are you going?
Burnley 2-1.
Oh, for God's sake, mate, you just killed me there.
I am going to go really low expectation because everybody else, my compadres, my colleagues, my peers, my contemporaries will be, we'll win that. And I hate that. It's an ambush we're walking into. I'm telling you, we always win in the end. That will be the doing for us, and it'll be on their wall, and Parker will bring it up tomorrow. And they are solid at home. I mean, you know, Sunderland were riding the crest of a wave of beating West Ham. Admittedly, the caveat is West Ham went to Burnley, and Burnley did a number.
Burnley against they were yeah.
They should have more points than they do, really, from United, Liverpool as well. Even Spurs on the first day, they gave as good as they got. The scoreline flattered Spurs.
They could have got something at Old Trafford. Maybe ought to have got something at Old Trafford. Last week, the supposedly nailed-on invincible favourites scratted around until they got a bloody last minute.
You know what annoyed me with that?
Penalty. So I am not. I fancy Burnley tomorrow, really, because we are in a state of flux.
What annoyed me about that, and I saw a lot of Liverpool fans saying, they parked the bus, they did. And I thought, no, what they did is...
break them down then.
They come up with a game plan. They're a team who have just been promoted, and they've gone, right, these are the games that we need to be trying to shore up, and we need to be trying to steal something here. So, and I can't stand that. I think it's ridiculous comments. At the end of the day, we've all been clubs where we've needed a result, and we do things to get that result. So I didn't like that.
Do you know what, Dan? Tomorrow at Turf Moor, a game between a team that has an identity and that forged it throughout last season and seemed to be wanting to stick to it, and a team that hasn't a clue what it is yet. And that team not having a clue as to what you are, and we still, you know, it's almost like we had a pre-season, right, have another pre-season, but we'll have that pre-season in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
And I think we'll get beat tomorrow. The beauty of that then, for me personally, is I cannot be accused of the delusion and the nonsensical, sensationalist rubbish that comes out of so many of our supporters. I can't be accused of that
Yeah.
There are times when, like I say, I hate to harp on about the point. Why, it's never dull, is it? I wish it bloody was. Oscar Wilde was wrong. Better to be not talked about in football than talked about in football. I'm sick of it. And I'm hoping that Swansea was that massive steel two-cap boot up the arse to give us something tomorrow. If not, we're going to get another massive steel toe-cap boot up the arse. And then we'll have a nice little holiday in Spain and then get another boot up the arse against Sunderland, So it's interesting. The season where we finished 17th, we had the points deduction, and we only stayed up because Luton, Sheffield United, and Burnley at the time were so pathetic. We played Burnley and Sheffield United early in that season, and Luton, and we weren't great against any of them.
Yeah.
So tomorrow is a big banana skin for us, and I'm not confident.
Samo?
I want to be the polar opposite to Dave's length of doing a response and also scoreline as well. I think Forest will actually win 2-1.
2-1.
I love you, Sam.
What a goal. Conrad?
I think 1-1. I think Burnley will hit you on the counter because Andrew will come out trying to attack him, thinking his philosophy is the best way, and that plays exactly into what Burnley want to do. So I could see Burnley taking the lead and you nicking one at the end, possibly.
Well, there
I would take a point, actually.
Well, there we go, boys. I mean, look, it's been a great show, and chat. Thank you for sticking with us. Love these Friday night shows. It's been great. You've obviously, we've gone through what we think about the clubs, where we are, what our hopes are. The main thing is, guys, and I said this last time I was on the show, and I'm going to say it again. Make sure you remember, we are football fans. We may not always agree with each other's comments. We may not even agree with our thoughts about what we think about our own clubs. But one thing remains is that we are football fans. We are a community, and we need to make sure we stick with that. So always be kind. Always make sure that you're honest and you take the right approach with it, because this is football, and this is why we love it. Guys, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. Conrad, where can we find you, bud?
At Black Cat TV on YouTube. Go and search us up. No live stream this weekend, but yeah, please subscribe. It helps us out.
No problem at all. Samo?
Yeah, on Back of the Net, on YouTube, social media and stuff. Everything's on there.
Perfect. And Dave, I know where we can find you, mate.
Yeah, you talks to Pure Gym, lift classes, stretch classes, glutes, legs and core on a Wednesday night, and you talks to Housewife's Choice.
I was going to say in the bogs, but okay, no, that's fine. We'll go with that. No, and guys, as I say, if you've enjoyed it, make sure you come and show some love to my channel as well, Dan United on YouTube. First and foremost, before we say goodbye, please make sure you are liking the video. Make sure you're subscribing if you're new. If you've enjoyed it, make sure you remind Potsy that I am still around. He's completely cast me off the bloody 12-man race for Europe. One day I'll get back there. But as for us, guys, we have been the other football fans, and we will see you all on the flip side. Take care, all. Take care.